Welcome everyone to the Raiders Daily. My name is Stephen Michaels. Welcome to Antonio Brown is a Clown Show. Yes, this show will be short, but it will get to the point. Antonio Brown is a scumbag, and everyone knows it. This guy is just a piece of garbage. Now, we don't, personally, in my opinion, I think the dude is mentally ill. But who knows? Maybe he's just been playing mentally ill to get off the Raiders, since that seems to be, I don't know, something that he's been wanting to do. Let's remember here, Antonio Brown practiced about 3-4 times in total since he's been with the Raiders. It's been one thing after another, and that's what we're going to go through, by the way. I mean, we can go through what he did before he even got to the Raiders. You know, like the whole stuff that happened with Pittsburgh, him throwing a football at Ben Roethlisberger, him not showing up to practice, him missing the last game of the season, and of course, a big one is his social media addiction, which, by the way, Patriot fans, in case you don't know, of course, Antonio Brown went to the Patriots. I'll have some stuff to say on that later. The Patriots are a scumbag organization, so it's pretty fitting that he goes to the Patriots because they're both scumbags. But Antonio Brown, remember, this is a guy that was in the locker room on social media after the Steelers won a game. And, you know, there's Tomlin, the coach, giving this speech. And Antonio Brown is on Instagram streaming it. I mean, it's crazy. It is crazy. And by the way, yes, Antonio Brown, he was streaming it on Facebook, by the way. Antonio Brown did get fined. He had to pay, what was it, $244,000? I mean, it was crazy. And then that's when, of course, he wanted out. He wouldn't practice week 16. And, of course, he got benched that game. It was just crazy. It really was. Then in February, he basically said that he wanted out of Pittsburgh. And then, finally, the Raiders traded for him. And remember, when the Raiders first got him, they got fool's gold. This guy was acting like, he put all that stuff behind him. He even said that at the press conference. He's gonna be there every day. Everything was going to be better, right? Everything was going to be better. The Raiders even sent a 3rd-round pick and a 5th-round pick, which, by the way, not that big of a deal. If you're a Raider fan and you're mad about that, don't worry about it. The Raiders got 2 first-round picks in 2020, so that's really not a big deal. So, listen, the Raiders even gave him a new contract. Everything looked good for this guy. Everything looked good for him. You get paid that much money. He got paid a boatload of money, guys. You gotta understand. Raiders added money to his contract. They upped his deal from 3 years, $39 million, to 3 years, $50 million, with a $30 million guaranteed money in it. $30 million guaranteed. And plus he had a $39 million, base salary. But he's not going to get any of that money. Nope. He's not getting a penny out of that money because the Raiders, he didn't practice enough, so the Raiders can void it all. They get all the money back. So he's not getting a single penny from the Raiders. But, I mean, Antonio Brown, like I said, then in May, if you remember, the helmet gate thing, which turned out to be a bunch of baloney. He was lying about the helmet. Oh, I can't play in this helmet. He spray painted a helmet. He did all this nonsense only just to get an endorsement deal and then admitted it. So he skipped all these Raider practices because he needed his Air Advantage helmet. He skipped all these practices. All of these. I mean, and for no reason. He skipped it all. Wasn't there in OTAs. Wasn't there at all. Then, of course, his frostbite. Yep, his frostbite on his feet. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible. This guy goes into whatever the hell it was, a chamber, and burns his feet somehow. I don't know how the hell he ends up doing that in France. Burns his feet. So then he's out even more. Then he can't do anything. Now he's got to get new skin on his feet. His feet look like there's potato chips rotting off them. I mean, this guy is just a loose cannon dirtbag. Then, of course, he's got to show him on social media because, I mean, that's what he does. He puts his whole life on social media. He thinks those are his friends, people. Like I said, this guy is mentally not stable. This guy is a nutbag. He is crazy. He's nuts. Now, don't get me wrong. Good football player. Probably one of the best wide receivers in football. If you get him on the field, and I don't know if the Raiders were ever going to get this guy on the field. It was one thing after another. Because then after that, of course, the second helmet gate comes. And this time, he's filing a grievance. Yep, he files a grievance, and of course, he loses. But still not at practice, right? Still won't go to practice. Then he shows up for a day. One day, everyone. One day he shows up. And then he doesn't show up. Nope, doesn't show up at all. Then he finds a helmet and says, oh, I can wear this one. And then, no, you can't. And then, of course, that's when Mike Mayock did that whole thing. Listen, this guy's got to be either all in or all out. This is ridiculous now. The guy, didn't practice one day at that point. And then, of course, he had another helmet grievance. And, again, he lost. And then, finally, he gets his helmet. He gets suspended after he gets his, helmet endorsement deal because the Raiders, they knew what was really going on here. And plus, you got to remember, I mean, this guy's acting all upset the Raiders are giving him fines. It's the rules. It's mandatory. If you miss that much practice, you get fined. That's what happens. He was mad about a $15,000 fine. I mean, it's crazy. It is crazy. Then he goes ahead and he posts Mike Mayock's fine. I mean, you don't do that. Who does that? Who in the right mind does something like that? You tell me a person who has ever done that. He takes the fine that he gets from Mike Mayock and he shows it on the internet. What goes through his brain when he does that? What kind of outcome does he think he's going to get by showing that he got a $15,000 fine for not showing up to your job? Guess what? If you at home didn't show up to your job, you know what would happen? You would get fired. You would get fired or you would get suspended. He got fined, which is basically a suspension. The guy's already a millionaire. He's crying about $15,000. So and then he does that. He of course he's got to show his whole thing. And then at practice. He shows up at practice the next day, and he starts arguing with Mike Mayock. Gets right in his face, calls him the devil, and I don't know how much I can swear on here, but calls him every, word you can imagine. Every single word you can imagine. Vontaze Burfict put him in a headlock, basically, to hold him back, and had to shove him away. The guy was a madman. A madman. Then he took a football and punted it 20 yards, and then flipped Mike Mayock off and said, "Fine me for that too." Guess what? Mike Mayock did just that. He fined his ass. He said, "Fine me for that too." Okay, here you go. Here's your fine for you. And you know what? Antonio Brown the next day thought, I don't know what he thought. This guy thought he could save face, maybe not get fined. I don't know what he was thinking. He goes in front of the team. He's apologizing. He's crying. But the whole thing was fake. He was acting. He was acting, people. But he does this whole, I'm so sorry, guys. I want to be a good player. I want to be a good teammate. I'm sorry I let you guys down. No more games. I just want to play football. That very night after that happens, he posts the video on YouTube where he recorded a private conversation with him and John Gruden. I mean, who does that? Who does that? And in that video, by the way, John Gruden's like, "Listen, man, do you want to be a Raider or not? Do you want to play football?" And Antonio Brown even says in that video, football's not, something about, he's bigger than football, or it doesn't define him, all this crazy nonsense. And remember, this is a guy, if you remember, he told ESPN before he got traded to the Raiders that he really doesn't care about football anymore. He doesn't have to play another down again, he said. He just doesn't really care. So that's what the Raiders were dealing with. John Gruden loves the guy. He wanted to get the best out of Antonio Brown he possibly could. And listen, John Gruden tried. If one thing, this guy tried everything. He didn't want to bash him in the media. He let Mayock do that. But trust me, it was Gruden's words. But, he was saying all positive things about him. Even when this dude wasn't showing up, he was burning his feet. He was crying about a helmet just to get an endorsement deal. Not showing up to practice. Trying to fight the general manager. Think about that, people. He was trying to fight Mike Mayock. He wanted to fight him. This guy is crazy. Unless it's all an act. Like I said, it could be all an act, because he did want to go to New England. That's where he wanted to go first. It could just be an act, but I don't think so. This guy is seriously messed up. So then, after that YouTube thing, the Raiders had enough. They had enough of this baloney. So basically what they did is the Raiders fined Brown for $215,000 for his conduct detrimental to the team. In response, of course, Brown posted on Instagram, and he said he wanted Raiders to release him. Guess what? Once again, Antonio, you get your wish. The Raiders cut this scumbag, Antonio Brown, and guess what? Due to, once again, his conduct, the Raiders can void the $30 million guaranteed in his contract, and they did just that. Brown is no longer a Raider. After they make, and then the release is official, right? And then it's 4 o'clock. That's when he can sign with a new team. Boom! New England Patriots. That is the weird part now. That is the weird part. Now remember, this guy, he was never really a Raider. So people who compare this to Khalil Mack, stop it. You're being stupid. Khalil Mack actually played for the Raiders. I mean, he actually was on the field for Sundays. This guy, I mean, I know for a fact there's players, I've spoken to a couple of players that don't even know Antonio Brown. I'm not joking. That never even had a conversation with them. It's not like this guy's been around the team a lot. And what really, really drives me nuts about Antonio Brown is how fake he is. This guy is such a piece of shit. Okay? Let's make this clear. He's a piece of shit. That's exactly what he is. Who I feel bad for the most in the situation, and I usually don't feel bad for this guy, because we have our ups and downs, is Derek Carr. Derek Carr, in the offseason, he did throw to Antonio Brown. He went to a party, a birthday party with Antonio Brown. He wanted to get good chemistry with this guy. Meanwhile, from what I know, Antonio Brown was talking trash behind Derek Carr's back for a while, saying he didn't like how Derek Carr throws the football. He wanted to go somewhere else. What he wanted to do in the first place is he wanted Tom Brady to be throwing him footballs. So, I mean, Derek Carr's, Derek Carr, he suffers from being the nice guy. This guy's being all nice to him. Meanwhile, Antonio Brown's acting like he's all nice to him. But in reality, he's talking trash about him. In reality, he could give two shits about the Raiders. And he proved that through this entire time. Not going to practice. You can say, oh, he burnt his feet. That was a mistake. Go ahead. You can say that all you want. But the helmet thing is ridiculous, okay? That is ridiculous. The guy only practiced 4 times. 4 times. What are you going to do with this guy? He won't stop posting stuff to social media. Then, like I said, at 4 o'clock, somehow, some miracle, they get a deal done with New England right when he's ready. Right when, it's time that he can sign with a new team. He already has a deal with New England. Already has it. Tell me how that happens. I would love to know how that happens. Now, personally, I'm not the only one that thinks this. I'm not the only one who said this. I think something went on there. I think the Raiders need to look into this because there is tampering going on. Antonio Brown and his slimy agent, because let's be honest, his agent represents the worst of the worst in the NFL. They're, it's like Terrell Owens, guys like that. Somehow, 4 p.m. comes along, and they get a deal to go to New England. The team he wanted to go to in the first place. The team that, that's where he wanted to go. He wanted Tom Brady throwing him the football. They get a deal done at 4 o'clock. I mean, the timing of this is very, very odd. It really is. And listen, like I said, I'm not the only one who thinks this. Vic Tafer, go listen to his podcast right now. He says the same exact thing that I'm saying. The Raiders really should look into this. There's no possible way that, they get a deal done that quickly. There's no way. There is just no way. What I think happened, and what I've heard from people, but I can't confirm it, so I don't want to say 100%, but I'm just going to give you my opinion. I think his agent has been talking to New England for the past week. I think they already had a deal in place. I think he knew what he was doing. I think he knew he was going to get released, and that's what he was trying to do. That's what I think was going on. I think he was trying not to get fined. I think he wanted to keep his contract money, his guaranteed money, and then get released. And that's the only reason why he apologized. Hoping, okay, maybe they'll pay me and then I'll do something crazy, then get cut. But by that time, I'll get some money out of it. I think that's what he was thinking. But it did not work out that way. His agent probably, I don't know how he didn't understand this. He didn't practice enough time to get any money because he only practiced like 3 times. So I think he really did have a backdoor deal with the Patriots probably a couple days ago, and that's why it happened so quick and so fast. But it's typical Patriots stuff. And you know what? Patriots, I mean, they're fans. First of all, they're the worst people in the world. They're racist. They're disgusting. And I know this because most people know this, but I live in New England. You know, that's why I think I'm the greatest at covering the Raiders and doing what I do. It's because I give an outside perspective that no one else can give. Most people live in California or live there, but I'm national, baby. I'm nationwide. So I know what people say about the Raiders all the way in Massachusetts to, you know, I know what goes on here. And I'm telling you, these Patriot fans are the biggest scumbags in the world. In fact, guarantee you, 2 days ago, if you would ask a New England Patriots fan what they think about Antonio Brown, they would probably call him some kind of racist slur, and then, you know, say he's a scumbag. The Patriots would never, ever put him on their team because Belichick doesn't hire, dirtbags. But now that Antonio Brown's on their team, oh, he's the greatest. This guy's the best in the world. He's so wonderful. No. Let me tell you something, okay? First of all, I know they got Randy Moss, and he had that great year or two there in New England, but eventually it fell apart. I don't think this thing in New England's gonna last very long. Antonio Brown's already posting stuff to Instagram. He made that so fake video when, about him, he's pretending that he's on the computer and he sees that the Raiders release him and he starts running out, I'm free. Meanwhile, the thing is so orchestrated and so fake, just like Antonio Brown, this stupid yellow mustache wearing fool. You look like an idiot. Dude. And I hope your feet rot off. I hope the rest of your skin rot off. I hope you can never play football again because you don't even deserve to play this game. You don't even love the game of football. You have said that numerous times. You're a jerk, and Juju is better than you. And you know what? The thing is, let me tell you Raider fans something. Before everyone freaks out, oh no, what the Raiders gonna do? Guess what? The Raiders targeted Tyrell Williams way before Antonio Brown. They wanted Tyrell Williams. Antonio Brown was just something like an extra, like a gift, basically. Like, okay, well, that's cool. We got Antonio Brown, too. And yes, Antonio Brown's a really good player, but his production has been going down year after year. Okay? And this is a guy who had a yellow mustache. This is a guy who has potato chips on his feet. They're rotting away. And let me tell you another thing that I probably wouldn't have said if this guy stayed on the team. But if you notice on Hard Knocks or wherever, they only show one of his feet. They only show one foot. Both of those feet are burned. Both of them are. But they're only showing one because only one is completely, or I won't even say completely, one is healed. The other one is not even healed yet. So that's what you're getting, New England, and I guarantee you this is gonna blow up in their faces. This is not Randy Moss. Randy Moss was just a jerk. You know what I mean? Randy Moss was just a diva. This guy is bigger than a diva. This guy is, like I said, in my opinion, this guy is mentally unstable. This guy is a wacko. This guy is just, he's a scumbag. He's a scumbag who has publicly said on the record he does not need football. That's what kind of player you are getting. You are getting a guy who does not want to practice anymore. You are getting a guy who lost his love of the game a long time ago. You are getting a guy who is a terrible teammate. Go ahead and ask all his former teammates. You are getting a guy who is not going to put the work in. You are getting a guy that as soon as he doesn't get the targets, he is going to start yelling at Tom Brady, throwing Gatorade jugs, doing what he does, and it's not going to end up well. If you think that just because he's going to New England, somehow the Patriots are going to turn him around and he's going to be some kind of saint. Well, listen, I got a penny for you. I want to sell it to you for $20,000 because you are that freaking stupid. This guy is going to self-destruct in New England. I promise you this. Yes, he will have a good game when his first game because they're playing the freaking Miami Dolphins, who are, they just completely just destroyed their roster and they're rebuilding. But let's wait till about week 8. Let's wait until then. When Julian Edelman's getting too many catches and Antonio Brown is not. Let's see how he reacts then when Tom Brady overthrows him. When he gets hit too hard. And you know what I hope? I hope the Raiders go Monday night and they go out and they destroy the Broncos. I really do. I hope somehow this team, even though I don't think they're ready for any Super Bowl or anything like that, I hope this team is good enough to get into the playoffs, to play New England, and I hope Antonio Brown is still on the team by that time. I don't know if he will be, but I hope he is, and I hope he has to meet Vontaze Burfict once again, and Vontaze Burfict says hello once again by smashing his head into the grass and making Antonio Brown wobble off the field like a little bitch. That's what I hope happens, because that's exactly what Antonio Brown is. This guy is not a team player. John Gruden, like I said, did everything he possibly can. This guy was saying how much he loves the guy, and he thinks Antonio Brown's misunderstood, and he's just repeating words Antonio Brown said. But, he's saying all these type of things. And what does Antonio Brown do? The one guy that has his back, right? John Gruden. Everyone else is hammering him. You put on ESPN, they're saying he sucks. You put on Fox Sports, they're saying he's awful. The one guy who has his back, what does Antonio Brown do? He records a private conversation and uploads it to frickin' YouTube. That's what kind of guy you got. A guy that will stab you in the back. Congratulations, New England Patriots. Let's see how long it lasts. Let's see how long it lasts when some fan calls him a racist slur, because I know you guys are good at that, and don't pretend you're not, because I've been there plenty of times and I know all of you. You guys are all pieces of shit, and Antonio Brown will fit right in there with you. And I am telling you, it won't last there. And I'm telling you one thing right now for you Raider fans, it's going to be okay. Because the Raiders got Tyree Williams. They got Darren Waller. They got Hunter Renfrow. They got J.J. Nelson. They got Ryan Grant. They got Derek Carr not needing all that pressure to throw the ball to Antonio Brown every single play now. He doesn't have to worry about Antonio Brown yelling at him on the sidelines. This, my friends, is a gift. Now, before I close this show, I will say this. I guarantee you, just because the Patriots got him, even though his time with the Steelers to his time with the Raiders, all these talking heads have been saying how stupid the Raiders are for, picking up Antonio Brown. The Raiders are morons, this, that, and the other thing. You watch. Bill Belichick does it. Robert Kraft does it. This guy who, does the prostitutes. He does it. All of a sudden, the media will say, oh, look how smart the Patriots are. They are so smart for picking up Antonio Brown. Yet they didn't say that when the Raiders did it, but they will say that when the Patriots do it. Well, they already did it. They will. I guarantee it. That's just the way they are, because they hate the Raiders, and anything the Patriots do, they think is gonna work. But this won't work. I promise you. And you Raider fans, don't get mad about it. Trust me. He's a good wide receiver, like I said, but he's a piece of shit. And he's a scumbag, and he's mentally unstable, and in the end, he would just hurt the team. That's all he would do, is hurt the team. Now all of these guys the Raiders got, I already mentioned all the names, the wide receivers. Now they can spread the ball around and they can be a much better team. I do think it will be a distraction in week 1. I do. If they can overcome that distraction, and Gruden's going to have to change the playbook. He's going to have to change signals and things like that because Antonio Brown has the playbook. And you damn well know that scumbag already copied that and sent it to Belichick. You know he did that. You damn well know he did that because he's a snake. That's exactly what he is. He's a snake. And he's going to come back and he's going to hunt the Patriots. And I'm going to laugh when he does. But you don't worry, Raider fans. You root for the Steelers when they play the Patriots week 1. You root for the Dolphins when they play. The Dolphins aren't going to win. But maybe something great will happen, like Antonio Brown will tear his ACL. I know that's horrible to say. I know. I went there. I said it. But guess what? I have no respect for someone like this guy. Not an ounce of respect for him. He doesn't love the game. I love football. I love talking about it. I love analyzing it. I love commentating on it. I love the football, and I love football guys. Antonio Brown is not a football guy. The only thing he is, he's a me. Business is booming with his stupid little post he has on Instagram. With his first of all, he already started Instagram with the Patriots. He has a cartoon picture of himself with money everywhere. Dude, you didn't get nearly as... You didn't even come close to getting the money you were going to get with the Raiders if you just showed up and did your frickin' job. And how ironic. That's the Patriots' motto. Do your job. Well, guess what? Antonio Brown's not very good at doing just that. My name is Steven Michaels. Antonio Brown is a clown. This is the #1 show in the world. This is the Raiders Daily.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.